I'll unmute. First, I'll unmute Michelle, who came up with the first question. And Michelle, can you hear us?
Hello, Michelle.
Hello, Michelle. No, oh, she maybe doesn't have a microphone that works, but her question.
Okay.
She had a couple of questions.
Okay.
If I can just bring them up. Now, the first one was, I'm glad people are giving more attention to the role of the dad. This is wonderful. May I please have the reference for the Farrell article you referred to? Now, that was towards the start of the webinar. Do you know?
Yeah, I can provide. Yeah, I got the reference here. What I might do is, Michelle, if you can, because I don't have it on my desk right now. It's in my other room, so I don't want to leave the table just yet. But what I can do, if you can give Steve your email address, what I'll do is I'll give you the reference for the PowerPoint, and then you can follow up from there. Okay? Is that okay?
No problem. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'm sure you can email me at Stephen with a PH at psychwebinars.com.
Yeah, great, cool. And then I'll just email you the reference and of all the material that I've used for sure.
Yeah, another question she had also just wondering if Farrell accounted for other variables in single-parent families.
Yeah, he's written 2 books. One's called The Myth of Male Power, and I can't remember the other book that he's written, sorry, at the moment. But he's written 2 well-researched books, and so when I give you the reference, you'll be able to go to the website and source those books. But yeah, he actually has written quite extensively on the role of both parents, and how it all works. But it is an American-based thing. So it's really, you can't use everything in there, but it does give you an idea, in the idea that that the roles of the gender roles are really, really important in the life of children, and so definitely I'll give you the reference, and by all means go online and get the books. They're a great read, and it has informed my practice and how I work with dads, and clearly it helps me to develop programs for dads to be really involved with their kids. Yeah.
Yeah. Now Michelle does have a couple of other questions, but I'll just go to Marlisha for one second.
Sure.
Her question is: when you are looking into young psychiatric patients, could you also look into why the fathers are not there? I have seen a high incidence of single mothers because the fathers couldn't deal with the social/emotional stigma of having a psychiatric patient as a child. It is important for men to have the strength and tenacity to support their children even through difficulties. Image can be a big deal for men.
Oh, I totally agree, and I'm always, I worked with the population that was for a while, they were self-harmers and had suicide thoughts, and there's such a stigma to self-harming. I don't know what it's like over east, but here it's like a pretty much a topic that's not often discussed. And yeah, it is hard for dads to understand, and I agree that dads need to support their children regardless whether it be sexuality or mental health or other. Dads need to step up to the plate, and yeah, image for them is something that they have to work through in order to understand that it's not really about them. It's something that they have to let go, and they have to really understand what unconditional love means. And so I touched on the whole concept that we men must love our boys, or we men must love our children. Let's put it that way. And what that means is that we need to unconditionally, regardless of how things work out, they're our children, and we need to stay with them and journey with them, being conflictual and labeling and judging and blaming and isolating methods that only foster hurt and regret and sorrow. We need to be able to function in a different way that foster love, acceptance, and healing in a lot of ways. I think a lot of mental health stuff like depression and anxiety can definitely be healed through love and support by the parents, to be more understanding, more empathic, to support, nurture, and encourage. And I think if we took on those value sets, I think there would be a higher recovery rate from these things in our adolescence. Does that answer the question well for you?
Hope so.
Is there any follow-up from that?
There is not from Marlisha,
Okay.
that I can see. But I'll go back to another question from Michelle, who asks as well, if I can find it. Oh, she said, sorry, her house is too noisy for the mic.
Okay. Sorry, Michelle.
That was also Michelle's question. Sorry. Oh, and she says thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
So I thought that was a question, but it's not.
Okay.
All right. Now it says also that Susan had a question, but I've only got hi here, Susan, in case you had a question.
Hi, Susan.
But it only says hi, so...
Oh, Susan, if you could resend your question, that'd be great, mate. I'd like to be able to engage, if you could.
For sure. For sure. Well, it looks like we don't have any other questions right now.
Okay.
Dashboard. Oh, here we go. We have another one. Okay, from Michelle. And if the situation arises that a family can't have the dad involved, what can they do to ensure children have a positive male role model? I was actually thinking this myself before. May sound silly, but I think groups where men offer their services as a role model.
Yeah, it's, when dad's absent or cannot, for whatever reason, have any involvement with his children, I think the onus, unfortunately, does lay on mum's shoulders to recruit, want for a better word, go into the community where they are and recruit people that might be appropriate. Now, there's obviously you got to be really wise about these sort of approaches because, you know, there's risk in doing stuff. If you don't know them well, there's always risk in anything that we do. So I always find that if dad's not available, then I would say that it probably, depending on the child, like depending on the young man himself, I would finding out from him some things that he'd like to do, whether it be sports, even if it's computer gaming, and then find out where he would fit in community around things that he desires to do. Now, I know if you're in the country, that can be quite limiting. I grew up in country towns, mining towns, so I understand that there's limited resources and limited facilities. So qualities to be looking for is a bloke who does work. I think he needs to have a strong work ethic. I think that's one. Secondly, I would find a guy who has minimal alcohol use, that isn't a big part of his life, and try not to find one, or try not to recruit one with a drug issue, even if it is small amount of drugs. I would try not to do that. Not trying to label people, but I'm just trying to think they've got to be safe, and that's the criteria. And in all recruitment of anybody, they've just got to be safe. So you make sure that they got, over here we've got what they call the Working with Children card. So the Department of Child Protection do screening on people, and if you clear their screening and you've got a federal police clearance, all that sort of stuff, then you're okay to work with children. It's not perfect. There's loopholes in all things, but they've got to have all those sort of criteria met in order, because your son's precious and they are treasures, and you don't want to just give them away willy-nilly to anybody. So I would get mum to do the homework, be really strict about who has involvement with her boys or boy, and try and find a guy with, like I said, a strong work ethic. He's got direction in his life. He's community-minded. He's not an isolationist. He's into community, and to build, and has the resources to build resiliency and resources in your own child. There's some things that you can do, but unfortunately, mum just needs to do her homework and make sure that she recruits well. Is that sort of answering the question? Is that helpful?
I think so. We have a question from Susan.
Hey, Susan.
How you going, Susan? Can you please tell me the first name of the Hamilton lady you referred to earlier?
Yeah, Maggie Hamilton. She's a well-renowned author and presenter and researcher on raising boys. You just Google her name, I'm sure it will come up. Yeah.
Very good. I don't think we have any more.
Okay. Well, thank you
thank
guys
you
for the
all very much.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to present. I know it's our first one, and I hope you enjoyed it. You can see my Facebook page on the Question Time PowerPoint there. So if you have any further questions or you just want to have further conversations around stuff, I'm happy to field them via Facebook. By all means, do so. That'd be great. And while you're there, press like. That'll be helpful too.
Yeah, go ahead and check out Kevin's page. Also, if you'd like to leave some feedback of what you thought, if you got anything valuable out of it, if you've got any positive or negative feedback, either way, we'd love to hear it, both Kevin and I. And you can go ahead and do that in the chat window. Thank you very much for your time, Kevin.
No worries.
I appreciate it. And I'm sure our audience do, because there was a few questions there. So
it's good.
So
they were good questions too. They were great questions.
Yeah. No problem. All right. Well, thank you very much, Kevin, and we'll talk to you soon. And thank you to everyone for joining us.
All right. Thanks, Steve.